Hey, thanks for checking in for Golf Smarter Mulligans, episode number 10. I'm Fred Green. When I launched Golf Smarter at the end of 2005, podcasts were in their infancy, and it was an experimentation opportunity everywhere as we tried to find our place in the world. In those days, when I had someone on the phone, I would just keep asking questions till we both ran out of steam. Because of it, many of the early episodes were up to an hour long. But for Mulligans, I'm going to do my best to keep them shorter, and today is a very good example. Our guest this time is Billy Bondaruk, and like we did with Fred Shoemaker, we're going to break it up into 2 episodes. Golf Smarter Mulligans is supported by 2guyswithgolfballs.com, offering premium used golf balls at a fraction of the cost of what you pay for new ones. Now, why would you buy new balls when you can play with premium quality used balls that were probably hit only once and then not even in the water? They just landed in the bushes. Now, the selection of golf balls at 2guyswithgolfballs.com have been hand inspected, sanitized, and then they grade them for quality so that even though they're used, you have a really good idea of what you're buying. And you have 3 choices. That would be Eagle, Birdie, and Par. Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans listeners get an additional 10% off every order, every time, when you use the coupon code GolfSmarter. That's 2guyswithgolfballs.com, and that discount offer expires April 1, 2020. Mulligans is also brought to you by Autoslash.com. Autoslash.com is the rental car booking service that will save you time, hassle, and money. Autoslash.com applies every available coupon code to your next car rental, including coupons you're eligible for based on your various memberships. Then they track your reservation until you pick up the car. And they email you when they find a better rate, and sometimes they email you daily, but you don't have to respond. But you should know that the average user saves 30% off any other booking site. And Autoslash.com is absolutely free. So bookmark it now in your browser and use it for your next car rental so that you can get the best possible rate from the completely free Autoslash.com. Welcome, Billy.
Thanks, Fred.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Now, you've got a really interesting website, the 7mythsofgolf.com. And have some really interesting concepts that are going. But just the introduction alone, when I was reading it, it screamed out you had to be on the Golf Smarter podcast. Tell us about the 7 myths of golf.
Well, the 7 myths of golf, it kind of dismisses some of the stuff that have been taught for years to golfers. Keep your head still, keep your eye on the ball, left arm straight. A lot, the technical stuff. And I try to get past that stuff because I'm not really a real believer in the conventional methods. I've seen way too many good players throughout my days play golf with none of some of that stuff happening. And in the 7 Myths of Golf, it disproves it, and it shows it with video. But the book takes a different turn and starts getting a little bit deeper into the true nature of how I see golf. And what I find with golf is it can show us so much more in life. For example, we're out there walking around in nature, and nature itself has a way of showing us the perfection of this world. And it has no need for being right or wrong or good or bad. It just simply is. And if you, at my golf course, Caught of a Dare, you see a deer cross the fairway, that it has no need to explain himself. And if your awareness is in the here and now, you can see this whole scheme of things teach us to see how perfect our life is as we're playing golf. And it sways us away from the big troublemaker, which is me. And a little bit more on that topic of me. We all have it. It's our ego. And when we tee the ball up on the first hole, I think there's 2 distinctive things that occur in all of us. one is our desire, and the other is our fear. And from that, it's like an open slate. We can play some really poor golf because of those two things. But when we can kind of push those aside and just play from the here and now, we're so much better off. And I've got a couple of stories about that if you're interested in hearing them.
I would love to.
One of the stories that comes to my mind is something that I think all of us will perhaps remember if you're into sports at all. And all three of these stories I'm going to tell you kind of are interrelated. If you recall, once Michael Jordan running back and forth up the court, and he made 5 3-pointers in a row. And I think after the 5th 3-pointer, he was running back to his side, and he just looked up into the crowd and kind of just looked straight into a camera and threw his hands up. And the look on his face was just like, I don't know where this is coming from.
As you were describing it, I threw my hands up in the air with a face of inquisition saying, I don't know.
Exactly.
I knew exactly the moment you were talking about.
I think that's the first words out of his mouth when they interviewed him after the game. I don't know how it happened. Tiger Woods was once asked after I think he won the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. He hit a 6-iron out of the rough. I think it was on the 6th hole, the par 5 uphill, 220 yards into the wind out of deep rough. Miraculous shot. Reporter asked him afterwards how it happened. He goes, I don't remember. That often occurs to me when I hit my greatest shots. I don't remember anything about them. Now, this story is completely different than sports, but I was once watching Sir Laurence Olivier give a talk. He was talking about his acting career, and somebody had asked him a question about when he got involved with Shakespeare, and he told this story. It was very interesting. He said that he once did a Shakespearean play, Hamlet, over in Oxford, England, and he absolutely fell in love with the play. And each time they did a rehearsal, he could tell something strange was happening. It was different each time. On the opening night of his first of the play, he received a 20-minute standing ovation after he completed it. And he went down to his dressing room, and his best friends came down, and they said, Lawrence, that was the most incredible thing we've ever seen. And he was walking back and forth on the floor with his head down, and he looked up at them, and he snapped at them, and he said, well, don't you think I know that? And they were like astonished by it. They said, Lawrence, what's the matter? That was the most incredible interpretation of Hamlet anyone's ever done. And he says, I know, but I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how I'll ever do it again. Now, all three of those stories involve a kind of a higher plane of intelligence that our mind can take us to. And when I speak of the mind, I'm not talking about our brain. I'm talking about something that's much greater than that. Our connection to our world, pretty much. But you'll never get there if you're involved with thinking about me. You have to lose all that stuff. You got to get away from what the shot means to you when you're teeing off, or if you have a good round going, you have to completely detach from what the outcome might be. And I think every golfer out there will agree with me. If they ever had a halfway decent round going, once they start thinking about it, they start telling stories in their own mind. It starts out with how they're going to explain the birdie putts they dropped to the guys in the grill afterwards. Or they even, go into the opposite extreme and start explaining why the round went bad. Inside of all of us, I think we have that storytelling nature, and we have to get past it.
But we're not Michael Jordan, and we're not Sir Laurence Olivier, and we're not, I speak me, I'm not a professional golfer. I go out to the golf course, A, because I love to, and B, because it's a distraction from everything else that's going on in my life. So when I stand over the ball, being in the here and now is a wonderful thing, but there are so many other distractions that come to mind when I do that.
When you stand over the ball.
When I stand over the ball. And when I'm walking to the ball and trying to think of what I want to do on my next shot. How can the everyday golfer, how can the amateur clear their head?
Let me ask you this, Fred.
Sure.
Have you ever hit a shot that you felt was just perfect?
Mm-hmm.
Where did it come from? Is it inside of us, or is it when we actually get away from our own self and just get up and hit it?
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear my answer. I threw my hands up and my shoulders and made a face like, I don't know.
Exactly.
But I don't know what happens when I make a crappy shot, too.
I think you're more tuned. You tune yourself more into the moment when you hit a good shot. But with golf, it is so easy to lose yourself. You're walking down the fairway, you're chatting, and things start going in your mind. And the next thing you know, you don't even realize it, but you left the present moment 3 holes earlier, and you had not been in that present moment for perhaps 45 minutes. Then all of a sudden it dawns on you. You haven't hit one shot from the now moment. I watched this on TV, the Golf Channel. I saw Bruce Litsky. He was doing one of those play with the pro things on the Golf Channel, and he said, yeah, I'm looking down the fairway now, and he's visualizing the shot for the camera. And he says, I like to aim the ball at that cloud up there, and I want to see it land off that left side of the fairway because it looks like it's going to bounce down towards the center from there. And he walks into his golf shot, and then he looks up into the camera, and he said the strangest thing. He said, now, you're going to find this really strange, but it's about this point right here that I feel like something leaves my body and watches from up above. I see that as purely detaching himself from what he just visualized. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of golfers. They get stuck in the visualization. They visualize the shot because Jack Nicklaus used to do it, and everybody talks about visualization. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does. But you must detach from it. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in that beautiful golf shot you see, and you're never in the here and now moment for when you're actually swinging the club.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
How?
How do you detach?
Yeah.
You have to look down the fairway and say, that hasn't happened yet. That's the future. I'm in the here and now. And, it's crazy. I practice it. It sometimes takes me 1,000 balls consistently saying before each shot, well, that hasn't happened yet. I'm in the here and now. Stay in the here and now. You need to have some type of a cue that snaps you back into the present moment, because that's when all the good stuff will happen for you. You can get to the top of your golf swing, and your mind is in the future. You're thinking, well, I don't want to hit it left. So at the top of your golf swing, you're not there. You're already down the fairway, hoping it won't go left. There's a trick to it, and there's a way to practice it. Like you can even see it on the great players on the tour. They can't seem to tap into it from week to week, but the finest players do. I don't know, this occurs a lot to the students I work with. I've asked them the question, when you hit a bad shot and you're out there by yourself, will you grab another ball and throw it down? You just get up and you hit it. Have you ever just hit it dead, solid, perfect? And everybody says, oh, yeah, I've done that before. It's like the first guy got out of the way, and then the second guy got in there and said, well, I know how to do this. I don't need to think about it. Going back to what I'd said earlier, desire and fear,
mm-hmm.
We all, and this is true of everything in life, we desire things to add to our life, and we fear losing things in our life. And if you look at it in our golf game, and I think this is why golf is so brilliant, it can really help you in life. You get up on a tee or stand over a putt, you may desire to make it. You may have the fear of missing it. Nothing good is going to happen in either of those two directions. It's only when you can step back from both of them and pretty much don't give a hoot of what happens. Visualize the good, but then when you're getting over the ball to hit it, be present and enjoy that moment. The moment leading up to all of this stuff, and it's the same thing in, say, knocking in a 10-foot putt that is going to beat your opponent. The whole process of actually lining it up and being excited about it, that's the moment that kind of defines whether the ball goes in or not. So much of our attention, though, gets put into the results that we lose that moment. But that sometimes is the most fun part of it. So that's where I'm at with, like, when you're learning your golf swing. You have to try to feel that stuff going on. There's an old story I remember about I think this is a true story, about a gentleman over in Italy. He got a job riding a bike, delivering bread. And he had to ride 10 miles uphill in one direction, delivering bread. And the other guy that worked there did the same thing, and they both had routes that were very similar. And one guy hated his job. He eventually hated his bike, and he kicked his dog when he came home. This other guy found a reason every day to enjoy his life. He liked the smell of the bread. He enjoyed the whole bike ride because it made his legs stronger and his heart stronger. One day, the owner of the bakery decided to expand, and he gave him the job managing the new bakery. It's kind of funny how this stuff rings true in everything we do, and it does in golf too. If you're trying to learn something new in a golf swing, you have to enjoy the learning process. You can't see it as a struggle. If you do, not much good is going to come from it, and it'll truly be a struggle for you.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break.
This is an interesting study I once heard some people do. You know those EKG machines you can hook up to your brain?
Sure.
Well, I guess there was some sports psychologists that got together, and they said, well, can we hook that up to some of these athletes' heart? And I think it was like more along the lines for basketball players. That's what they did the study for. And somebody figured out a way how to do it. And they'd sit these guys down, and some of them were like AA champs, and guys that like had the ball at the last 3 seconds and made like a three-pointer and stuff. And they'd ask them questions with both the brain and the heart hooked up to this machine. And sometimes they'd send in somebody that was kind of annoying or something to ask the questions, or it upset these athletes, and the heart waves would stop completely, and the brain waves would continue going. And then they'd put a basketball in their hand and say, "No, shoot some free throws," and their average would be like 2 out of 10 or something like that. And somebody else would come in. Pardon me?
I know it well.
Yeah. Somebody else would come in and they'd get them all excited, and the guy would be kind of like a motivational speaker and say, "Hey, tell me about that game where you made that three-pointer in the last 3 seconds." And all of a sudden, the heart waves would just start going off the chart, and the brain waves were clicking. And they'd ask questions like, what do you feel in your body right now? And the athlete would actually say, "Well, I can actually still feel like my skin's tingling, almost like I'm in that game." And they'd give them the ball and say, "Shoot some free throws." And they'd make like 9 out of 10. It's crazy. But when the heart is more involved than the brain, you'll do anything better, not just golf. It's such a big part of what we do with our life and our sports. And I just think about some of the things that happen to you on the golf course. Maybe you're playing just one of the most beautiful golf courses you've ever stepped on, and you feel so good that day, and you go, "Wow, I just hit so many good shots today. I love being down at Poppy Hills, or wherever it is for the listener." Sometimes you'll just walk onto our tee and you'll look down the fairway and you just go, "Always liked this hole. I don't know what it is. It just fits my eye."
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the more appropriate way of saying it is, it really fits my heart. But
I've always had an issue when you're in a championship situation, whether it be the Super Bowl or the 7th game of the World Series, and the announcers always throw this out, "Well, it just matters on who wants it more.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they both want it.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know if that's what you're getting at.
Absolutely.
But these guys are professionals. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And just because it goes to the bottom of the ninth inning before the game is over, does that mean they wanted it more?
There's a fine line. I don't think it almost has a point to do with if you want it too much, you start thinking about the future. I remember once Joe Namath was describing like the way he played football and some of his greatest escapades out there. He said it was almost like I was playing the game through my eyes. Wherever I looked, my receiver would go, and I could feel where I needed to move next, and it was almost like I was making the movie as it was going. It wasn't like the game was being played without me. If I stopped, everything else would stop. He said it was a weird, eerie type of thing, even to the point where I think he described once where he needed to take a break, and the other team called a timeout. He said it was eerie. In a way, it's when you're in that moment and you're not thinking about, are we going to win this game? What are the results going to be? Am I going to break par today? Am I going to, embarrass myself in front of my clients? When you're in the results, you're in for it. But when you can bring yourself back to the experience of just being in the here and now and having fun, you can tap into that other stuff. To the degree of it happening, like for Joe Willie Namath, I'm not sure. Or Sir Laurence Olivier, I don't know. Eventually, I think you could have those days. I really do. I think it's inside of all of us. I did this little thing just to learn what my students go through sometimes. I wanted to find out what goes through my students sometimes in playing bad golf. And I took some balls to the end of my driving range, and I had to hide when I did this because I took the weird grips and tried to make the strange swing paths and everything like that. And it was interesting. I mean, even with, I knew how to fix this stuff, but I wanted to stay committed to not doing it correctly and find out why some people struggle with change. And it's kind of funny. It comes from within. We all have a human nature that wants to, in a way, be right. And letting go of that is kind of difficult. While I was back there hitting balls with strange grips and like different swing shapes and stuff, I felt like I was a small child just banging away on a piano key. The keys just making no music at all. But I realized that I didn't want to abandon everything right off the bat. Because the creativity comes from just trying things. I'm not going to be able to swing like Tiger Woods, as you aren't, Fred, but you have a swing that somehow you could make it work. And you need to find out perhaps some of the things that might work for you, and they may be more on the lines of the fundamentals of the swing. But once you grasp one or two things, most of what's left comes in from your mind and how you believe in it. And I think, we could probably, search through swings on, especially the senior tour. You could look at some of the guys out there and go, how in the world can he actually hit it straight with that swing? It's amazing, Yet they believe. And I think that's a big, big principle in making our golf games better.
Well, it's interesting because a recent guest on the Golf Smarter podcast was Fred Shoemaker, and he said, increase your awareness and lower your handicap.
Oh, so true. Yeah. But thanks for having me, Fred. I really enjoyed the conversation with you.